maybe expecting, say, the Dragon Tail Arrow plus Sunstrike combo, and you also take out the Spectre, which we know Palos likes to play as well. So they're also covering their bases. They go into the Axe, which is open. I mean, we've seen a lot of Axe yesterday, Mike, on the A stream. It did not work out. Even in the post-game interviews, we were told, yeah, we tried Axe, it didn't work. They tried Axe, it didn't work. I guess Axe just doesn't work for any of us. We'll have to see if it works for 496. I'm hoping this is an off-lane Axe with a Leshrac mid. I think we definitely want to see something different on the pause one, something with a bigger win condition for this team here.
You know what I don't like about offlane Axe right now, though, if I'm perfectly honest, is I don't like the whole Manta Rush, right? Like, when you're playing in the offlane, you kind of need someone that can play with the supports, and I believe yesterday, the only time we saw the offlane Axe, it was Manta before the Blink, and I realized for efficiency's sake, having the Manta just allows you to farm the whole map, basically. So it's very efficient, but when you're playing offlane Axe, it just doesn't feel as good, and I love seeing this, John. You know how I feel about this hero. The Earth Spirit comes out. It's going to be a hustler Earth Spirit to boot, and he is very good at this kind of hero. So very happy to see it. And surprise, surprise, 496, they want to play an aggressive kind of draft again. Love to see it.
Yeah, and this Earth Spirit really enables that aggression. Can also kind of help you play around with your Axe, I suppose. You can start applying a lot of damage from far, roll in, get the chain stunts off. But a call helps you creep skip as well. So lining up well for that dual lane. I'm wondering how that BB builds in that Axe off lane, if it is the Axe off lane. Hoping it still is. I think you could probably go for the more team fight oriented one instead of the efficiency farm, as you mentioned with Manta. I think you do want to be that activity for your team. Like we've seen, I guess you could rely on the Winter Wyvern as we saw in game 1, but it just feels like you have to give that Wyvern farm as well. It has to rush the Blink Dagger, and that's what helped 496 there. So I'm not sure if you really have enough space with the Axe on hand soaking that farm and the Leshrac already. Execration for their part back into that Yoe Puck. So it's looking like the offlane DKs in play as mentioned. DK Mirana, Puck mid, maybe expecting the Leshrac mid to counteract that, and that's not too rough of a lane. The Puck, although we have seen Leshracs get a little bit more out in that 1-to-1. What's really going to be the difference here is really what they choose for a safe lane. Like Palos, does he get the Jug again? It's a very safe sort of pick. It just doesn't feel like it's the strongest sort of pause one, right? Like it's very stable, very open sort of core to close out, but it never feels great closing with Jug. Because it's last pick, it's your moment to really bring out something special in the draft, something that can't be countered from what you see already for the most part. And the Jug is just too safe. And in this case, closing out with Jug again, you're going to have the same issue with Winter Wyvern. Cold Embrace, your Omni Slash just doesn't do anything.
Can't disagree with you on that, John. What else do you think, though? Like, where do Execration go? Do we want to see them go into the PL again? Seems a bit rough into the Leshrac Axe, to be fair. Probably not PL this game, but what else do you see? Maybe I was going to say Medusa, but that was banned very early on. Any other position ones that come to mind for you that you think will really suit Execration's draft?
I think a Wraith King could be one way to get around this. You don't really have mana burn right now in 496. The Skeletons can help you push. It's a bit more of an active core, especially if you go for Armlet Radiance instead of Radiance Rush. You can play around with your Armlet, join fights early on,
and
build off that. And go with a Terrorblade instead, which is it's the same thing. You've got Metamorphosis, you can push towers fast. There is some good magic damage coming through from 496 though. Leshrac is already there. Your Wyvern can make your life hell if your positioning's off. So Execration's got to be even more disciplined than they were in game 1 in using that Terrorblade, but this is a good core to tie it up. I'd say emphasis here on looking to play with Metamorphosis for push. You've got DK Dragon Form, you've got Meta, you need to take some of these towers out. 496 though,
that's a good pick.
Close out with a Bat Rider, so it's a Drew Axe, which I'm not particularly fond of, but they've got the Bat, as you mentioned, great pick to deal with the Puck, great pick to deal with a Terrorblade. They've got great single target control and some pretty good synergy. Lots of magic damage flying through. They can make it really hellish for Execration. Heck, they could even play a bit funny here. Like Winter's Curse, lasso the target into the bigger team fight. That could be one way to kind of line up those shots.
I suppose so. I don't think that's what 496 is intending, John, but I like your creativity, sir. I think you've been drinking a bit too much mate by the way you're talking. 496 though, the reason why I like the position 1 axe here is because you're up against TB, very, very high armor hero. Pure damage though. Axe doesn't care. Just spin. Just spin to win, John. What's the problem? And like you said, against the Wyvern, very, very difficult to play TB because the likelihood is you're either going to kill yourself or you're going to kill your teammates. And now you've got a Bat Rider to make it even more difficult. You get Fireflied with sticky napalm and the lasso, you're screwed. The Puck's going to have a very hard time as well if you get caught by that lasso. Hell, it deals with the DK very well to boot. So I think I have to say 496 has the better draft here, John, but I need to ask your opinion. Because you're the man with the plan. Who's got the better draft?
I like 496 as well. I think the Leshrac Opener is just so good with how they play. Still not sold on the Axe Core, but maybe they break that curse for the teams we've seen.
You know why you're not, John? Because months ago, before this was popular, I said it was going to happen. And admitted on stream, I was saying it like half a year ago that Position 1 Axe was going to be a thing, and you were like, no, Mike, don't be stupid. It won't work. And but long behold, look where we are, John. Look where we are. You admitted to the viewers.
No, I was agreeing with you.
No,
I said it was a bit wonky, a bit left field, but I said in circumstances it can work in very specific circumstances. We just haven't seen it. I just noticed that RGB Winter Wyvern, by the way. Like I saw chat saying this. It really is an RGB Winter Wyvern. What's up with that? It reminds me of our HyperX keyboards on stream.
That's a very good segue, John. Indeed, it does. So, you know, colorful Winter Wyvern. It does look very nice. I'll give them that. In fact, never mind that, because the fight has started. BDZ, he has not got leap available. He has been caught out, and he's gone. They're just trying to give the right target the kill. Who wants it? Hung? Hung will take it. That's the kind of teamwork you love to see as well. They all just kind of group around him. And it's like, do you want the kill? No, you have the kill, please. You have it. I don't need it. You take it. And Hung's like, listen, I'll have the kill. It's fine.
That's a great gold injection for Hung. Like, that's going to lead to a faster bottle in this mid matchup, but not going to feel great when your Bat Rider can just refill every single time these trades. Still going to scuffle over these runes, though, but if RR can actually snag this. Doesn't look like he can.
Oh, Hustler. This little kick away. Just managed to take the bounty rune, so it's going to be a 2-for-2 trade by the looks of it. Nico will take the other on the bot side. Still, we had a similar scenario last game around, John. Drew last game got first blood on the Ricky, which we talked about how detrimental that was going to be to Execration. Now to make matters worse, Hung's got the first blood on the Bat Rider. And we know Bat Rider, he tends to farm faster than most heroes thanks to that Firefly sticky napalm. And once you have those shards up as well with the double flame break going on, it's so obnoxious to play against. And I wonder if Yoe is going to be able to kind of at least slow Hung down and not allow him to have that very early aggression, as you can see how much damage Yoe is taking. But how does this lane go for Yoe? Do you expect him to win this one out, or do you think Hung will have the advantage?
I think Hung's just going to have the advantage here. Even if you've got this early magic wand for Yoe, if you trade with a Bat Rider too long, you don't win out. Like, even if that's fully charged up, eventually the stacks of sticky napalm's a bit too much to deal with. And you already saw a bit of a sentry to block out that small camp just for a bit in that first spawn. Was immediately countered by Yoe, so he's going to have a camp to play with. But even then, the Bat Rider clears his own camps a bit faster, just by virtue of sticky napalm. So even in a very even lane, Hung's going to have a little bit of an advantage, and the pressure's on Yoe to abuse his mobility, kind of secure this lane. He needs to go for every water rune pairing. He needs to go for every power rune as he can to really get that advantage.
Yeah, we'll move over to the bot lane, John. We've got this this lane we saw yesterday. The DK Mirana against the Wyvern and the Axe. In fact, it was an Axe yesterday as well that they were playing against with this duo. And BDZ did a very good job of landing those arrows after Nico with the initial Dragon Tail stun. And I'd also like to point out that yesterday, you said you didn't like the DK helmet, and Nico's actually taken it off. So I'm not sure if it was you that made him do that, John, but you've done something. Meanwhile, top though, Palos, he's been caught out. He's going to drop to the Diabolic Edict of that BB, and that is pretty darn bad news for Execration.
It's what you expect though, right? Like, it's a Leshrac, it's a lot of magic damage. He does go for the Edict, which is physical, so some of that armor does reduce it. It's still a lot when you isolate these heroes out, and it's just down to Hustler on the Earth Spirit. Like you mentioned it. Like you love the Earth Spirit. I love the Earth Spirit on Hustler. He's always been known for this hero. Down back to Reality Rift days, if you can remember when they were around. Just a fantastic pause 4 player on the Earth Spirit, and he's already kind of flexing that around. There's not much RR can really do in this situation. If they have meta, maybe you can land a couple of Fire Spirits, but the attack speed slow won't really stop that BB from trying to trade back, so you always run that risk of losing the trade by virtue of magic damage in this lane.
Have to agree. I mean, I do remember Hustler in the RR days, John. I remember screaming his name very loud at some points with this Earth Spirit play. But I'd say he's one of the players that really got me into Earth Spirit, which I'm not sure whether to thank him for or hate him for, to be honest, John. Hustler is going to try and back off now as the meta does come out. Roll going to be pretty darn perfect right through the gap. I suppose Palos won't mind too much anyway. He wants the meta to be able to just farm up. He'll be just fine with it.
Yeah, it's a pretty stable lane so far. I think 496 with the 2 kills aren't quite getting the net worth lead they'd want. I think because the farm potential coming out from Execration is looking pretty good. Like Yoe is actually pulling out relatively well on his puck. He does manage to secure at least 1 water rune, so not double water runes, but still enough to keep him in the lane. And Hung is not really able to leverage that small camp as much as we'd expect, so not quite fully abusing those early sticky napalms up, but he is slightly ahead in EXP, so that's where it could really shine. Earlier 5 into an earlier 6. Once Lasso's up, you can look to maybe make a play, or could be the greedier build here, where you ignore Lasso until level 7, level 8, and just opt to really focus on the triangle, focus on farm. That's one other way where the Bat Rider can kind of overtake.
Absolutely. It's like BDZ. He's got that earn up now. We've seen this before. He does tend to start rotating across the map once he does have this itemization. Of course, you've got the level 4 on Nico as well, so he's a pretty tanky DK now. You're not really too afraid of him dying in the lane by himself. So BDZ, he can start being a nuisance across the map if he so feels like it. Wouldn't hurt to help Yoe out a bit in that mid lane and maybe just try and focus down Hung if you can, but at the very least for now, he doesn't want to make it too obvious. He's being watched by Bombi, so he's just going to stick around. We'll go for a bit of a warding war. As to the right, Drew gets a call off. No spins, however. Very unlucky for Drew, and he'll just continue CSing. No real reason to get aggressive on the DK at the moment.
I actually really like what Bombi's done here. So every single time BDZ is looking for that arrow angle to follow up, he's always there harassing. They can never land that Dragon Tail arrow, which was in stark comparison to what we saw yesterday, where every single one landed, they've really bullied out the axe, he couldn't do anything. Opposite story here. Drew's allowed to pretty much farm up at the same pace Nico is. You're not getting that laning advantage you'd want in the DK, and that should lead to a smoother ramp up for Drew to hit that Vanguard timing, to hit that Manta timing, and start shoving out the waves consistently. We're not even seeing BDZ rotate mid, as you mentioned. He's just kind of stuck in that jungle area, and just kind of trading wards with Bombi, which is not ideal for this Mirana.
Coil out, arrow, not gonna land Yoe. He's gonna try and get some damage out onto Hung, but they just don't have it. They even rotate down RR, and now Hustler, he's going to show up. He's going to guard that DD rune for Hung. Again, Execration, not really able to get much out of the laning stage so far. They are farming just fine, but it does feel like every attempt they've taken to kill anyone off just hasn't panned out. And it does go back to what you were talking about. Bombi has been very, very good at making sure BDZ doesn't find the angle for the arrow. And yeah, I mean, if you can't make that combination work with the DK, is the combo really that strong? Not really. So Drew, he's just going to keep free farming.
I really appreciate that Hung actually did play greedy. Like, we talk about this possibility. He does not have Lasso. He just went 3-0-3, sticky napalm on the Firefly, ready to farm up, ready to run down some of these slower heroes as well, like, say, the DK. And he does get the Lasso now at 7. So they've got a lot of opportunity. Nico?
They get the Lasso now. Call is out to hold him down. Hung, he might just hold on to the Lasso. He doesn't need it. Nico gonna drop Hung immediately back into the mid lane, and that'll be the 3rd kill already for 496. Meanwhile, never mind 3rd, it's gonna be the 4th as that BB ends up killing off RR on the Phoenix. He went for an Icarus dive, but he didn't quite make it out. Meanwhile, mid lane, Yoe forced to pop the Dream Coil just defensively as now the arrow does come in. Maybe they could try to turn this one around. Hung, still relatively healthy and almost has the Firefly back up. He will be able to back off. We're yet to see any kind of kill coming up for Execration. They are certainly trying, but it does feel like they're just kind of lacking that extra oomph they need in these engagements. In fact, roll in, Hustler. It's off the mark, gets the silence off, but he's going to have to let Yoe go.
And this is a really awkward situation for Execration. They have to dump their Terrorblade into the jungle really early. So he's just kind of farming them. But he's already contested by Drew.
He was. Arrow did cancel off the TP, and now Yoe is going to show up, but they don't have the coil to lock him down. And he's a very, very tanky kind of axe right now. A lot of armor with the Vanguard to boot. And I don't think they can kill him. He's just going to run.
Just a complete nuisance. Drew on the pause one, into your jungle, yelling at the Terrorblade to stop farming, and just runs away. Like, if you can't punish him, it just slows down your farm so much. Now Nico.
Spinner Blast not going to land. Hustler, Boulder Smash. He needs to go for a blind. He goes for the silence first, misses the Boulder Smash, but it won't matter. Nico is within vision now. There is really no escaping the side of 496 is that BB. He's going to be the one to take the kill with the Pulse Nova. Third kill of the game for him on the left track, and the fifth for 496. Is it looks like they want to start setting up for the bottom tier 1 tower. And on the brighter side, John, you're still farming very well on Palace at the moment. That's the thing, right? This TB, he's free farming the jungle. He's doing just fine. But we've seen this before from Execration. It's generally Palace that's the only one that's able to get the farm on the team, and the rest tend to fall behind. And I don't think that's going to be quite good enough up against 496.
No, you really need some farm distribution to come out. Like, this puck needs to be online ASAP as well, along with the DK. You need that DK blink up, get the stuns off, to get the control off. They are smoked up, at least as 2 BDZ and Yoa look like they wanted to swing around bot, but just a bit too late. The push potential from that Diabolic Edict's just too fast, and we're not seeing Execration reciprocate with their own push. They've got Dragon Form, Miko's been shoving a wave, but they haven't played around that. They haven't grouped around that DK to look for objectives. And that just gives 496 so much more control on the map. They can start eyeing the mid lane now. They're still grouped around. That BB's got the Edict ready to go. If they lose that mid tower, that jungle farm for the TB, it's not going to be very safe down the line.
Well, Palace is just taking all the time he can get to farm right now. Again, I just still get very concerned with this style of play. So Yoe, he needs to be able to keep up here on this puck. He's got the Witch's Blade queued up, and that's going to be a great start for him, but we need a lot more after that. Let's see how he does make it work, as they are starting to group up now. You haven't got the Moonlight yet on BDZ. He's only level 4. You haven't even got the Egg on the Phoenix yet either. He's only level 5, so they're going to smoke up without those skills available. Meanwhile, 496 down to the bot side are going to try and chase down Nico, but immediate TPs are there. In fact, that's the Bat Rider. Nico is going to try and run, but the Boulder Smash does connect, and now the Flame Break into the loving arms of the Bat Rider. Hung will pick him up and throw him down. And meanwhile, towards the north side of the map, Drew, he's going to survive. Cold Embrace, it was there in time. They are going to get him out, Drew. He is just fine as Yoe. He's the one dropping low on the puck. He'll try to orb away. Hustler those on the chase. He gets the magnetize. Yoe is going to be able to get the kill and might just survive, but now Palos, he's the one in danger. You would have rather just lost Yoe. I mean, he'll get the puck out, but there's your tip, Drew. He rubs it in.
That was just outstanding response from 496 with a Cold Embrace on the edge for Drew. Roll forward to refresh the magnetize with a boulder. Just really good execution from 496, and that's consistent Hung.
They're going to try and go after Hung. They drop the egg onto the Bat Rider. Hung, he's going to try for the TP play. Is he really going to make it out? Not quite. They'll get him. My goodness, that was close. With that, the T1 mid tower just about to fall. In fact, it is going to have to be denied off. But at least they get themselves a very valuable kill in the Bat Rider.
It's a big one for Execration, the biggest kill they've had so far out of their 2. So it feels good. It's just that the map is super open. Their jungle, it's exposed. Mid, top and bot tier 1's gone. They don't have the best TP spots, and that's something 496 should look to abuse. They just need some forward wards and keep that aggression up. Execration's going to run out of map space to farm relatively soon if they don't manage to get a grip in that control. So really good news for 496. They just need to keep that aggression. They cannot afford to sit back, start farming again, build up in the axe. They have to keep these lanes shoved in. They have to keep that vision game in the jungle up and take these caps away to make it really awkward for Palos to play in that bot jungle and to somehow share that farm with a puck in the DK.
It's very hard for Palos to play in the bot jungle when you've got this Bat Rider just around all the time. Of course, 496 even stacking for themselves in that jungle, knowing that Hung can take them just so easily. The bot tier 1, still not dropping either for Execration. Bombi, he's going to show himself in that tree line. Setting up, and there's your curse out. He wants to start the fight immediately. Sunray is there as well into the split earth. That BB, they're trying to keep him alive. Palos, he gets us under in time, but it may not matter. They have the lasso. They'll get the kill on Bombi. He will keep that BB alive throughout all this, as now BDZ is going to try and run, but he's accepted his death. He just stands there and takes it like a man. The smoke out, 496, they want more. It wasn't enough for them. They want to satisfy that hunger. Who do they find, though? Roll in. Hustler not quite in range, but the boulder smash and silence. Very, very nice though. Nico gonna try and turn a great coil out. They might at least be able to get this Leshrac. He is dropping quite low and does die, and now they can chase for more. Hustler very, very low. Cold Embrace gonna try and save, but he is almost certainly gonna die as now Hung does show up. Who do you want to focus down? He'll try onto Nico, but there's too many heroes around. They take down Bombi, and now Hung needs to get his ass out of there, but he cannot. He's gonna drop in 496. In classic Southeast Asian style, John, go way too far.
You know what this reminds me of? We had a talk with Drew last time in either the DPC or OEDL, and I remember asking, how are comps like in 496? Because it's 3 Vietnamese players, he's from Indonesia, you've got Hustler now, and he said they just yell at each other. So I can imagine in that moment, that's where clear comps would have helped, because it looked like they were all just yelling go, 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 when what they needed to do was go around, head out, because they underestimate that Dream Coil egg. And if that combo flies true, Execration can turn it around. Like, it's such a strong set of control. You've got basically a melee pause one who can't really clear out the egg. Neither can a Bat Rider and Lesh. So once you're locked in there, you are pretty much letting that egg off. And it's just such a massive risk for 496. Execration, finding that good turnaround opportunity, make it work. Drag that net worth lead back to less than 1k. But 496, you have to respect that. And we've seen a lot of that puck mix combination before. We've seen it when it fails to execute. But every single time, I always say, if it lands, it is super strong. And 496 just maybe forgetting that combination is there. So have to respect that. And we'll go back to the drawing board and farm up. They can look to fight again right now, though. But they've got Lasso up, Winter's Curse. They've got everything they can ask for. Magnetize is ready as well. So this could be the time to look to counterfight back in. It looks like they're more than satisfied and just playing around with this fresh Manta on Drew.
Why the hell not? Oh, Palos. Lasso's out. They've got the big one again. He's got no help around him either. And this is a real problem now. You can't farm like that. Not by yourself. The tier 1 tower's still there. They could rotate at any moment. In 496, they didn't even need to. They just waited in the tree line. Palos, he's trying to get that CS. He's trying to give some space to his teammates, but you're out of the laning stage now. You need some help behind you to back you up in case that happens.
This is where it goes back to the fact that Execration didn't play around with her DK's Dragon form at 6. Bot tier 1 still stands, as you mentioned. Mid tier 1's still there. Top tier 1's still there. And there isn't a safe lane to go in and just AFK farm as core. Looks like they might start clumping around now. They've got 4 heroes down bot. They've got Metamorphosis ready to go, so they could look for a tower push. But they look pretty indecisive. Looking for a smoke play first. Blink is up on Nico, so they can set up with a Blink Dragon Tail on hand. They just need to find a right target here.
All ulti's up as well, but where are you going? Moonlight Shadow popped very early. They're going to head towards the west of the map. Scan does scan out the illusions. Bombi's around though. This is going to be a very scary attempt on Drew's life as Bombi, he reads it already. He knows they're coming. He's going to go for a great curse out, locking down the puck. Arrow's not going to land, and look at this, Drew. He wants to try and turn around. Roll in, Hustler. Gets the puck down though. They do lose their axe, but now Nico going to be in danger. The egg, it barely pops in time, saving the life of Nico at least for a second, but not for long enough as RR is going to have to Icarus dive out of there. And meanwhile, Hung, he's not done either. He spots out BDZ. One leap charge available. Can he just TP? Not quite. They have the lasso. And so Drew, he got a little bit greedy to try and go back in for the kills and does pay for it, but does it matter, John? They got a 3-for-1 trade, and Drew, he's still top of the net worth board.
It really doesn't matter. Like, they waste so much time on Palas having to join in these chases, and he immediately just has to disengage to save his skin. So it doesn't feel great for Execration even if you kill the axe and RR.
Oh, RR. Gets caught out. Stun out at least. Nico's going to be there. Yoe going to try and trade with the life of Hustler. Roll going to be blocked off. They'll at least get one. You're at least trading evenly in that scenario. Yoe does get the kill, and he does need the gold right now on the puck. Can they get anything else out of this? Maybe that T1 mid tower. You've popped the meta anyway. In fact, a nice dream call now. Catching out the Bat Rider. Hung, no help around. He'll drop to boot. And that's what you want to see out of Execration. These are the kind of plays that are probably going to be able to give them the comeback they need.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
It's a tower to take their first tier 1 melted. So it clears out maybe an axis point towards that Roche. Just up the jungle a bit more for them to farm in. And just keeps themselves a little bit safer. So 496 lead down to 1k. They have managed to grab this blink on Drew though, and he can start playing around with that. Drew could look to set up with a calls now, still waiting for his axe short to really be online. But you're hitting those spikes now on the axe, and could just wait for that next lasso as well here on Hung. So not too much pressure. They do smoke up here on 496 without those spells up. They're just going to look to make something happen now.
Execration are in position to break this. They aren't going to run back into their own jungle. 496, they're going into the triangle. They have not been spotted yet as that BB. He's going to try and bait them in. He'll go after RR by himself. No Icarus dive. He'll force out the egg. Hustler does show himself now. Yoet. Go for a quick orb out. Arrow not going to land. BDZ, that is way too far forward, sir. He's going to get caught out. Meanwhile, on the backside, Hung, he also gets caught. There's your corner brace out again, and the curse is going to be there on the Ancient by the looks of it. They do at least get BDZ. Nico, meanwhile, he's trying to fight back, but he's all by himself. They will be able to kill off Hung, but they will lose the DK, and now Yoe, he's been caught out by the roll, but he does have the orb up. They won't be able to get him with the split earth. So all in all, not really too bad of a team fight for Execration. A 2-for-1 trade, but they got that mid Bat Rider. I think it's going to be okay for them.
Invisibility.
Could have been worse. I think this kind of makes it a lot more even than it ought to have been. And it does open up an opportunity to push bot.
Hustler, been caught. This will be a third if they can get it. See Bombi trying to TP in, roll back in. A great corner brace as well. He's going to survive. They've got Palos again. You do have the Sun up though. Maybe he can fight back. He gets it off. That BB is probably going to die here as Yoe does chase him down and should be able to get the kill and does. All right. Works out in the end for Execration as Bombi gets reflected. Hung going to jump in by himself with the Firefly. And that is so much damage out. They find another. In fact, Bombi, he's been left behind. Cold Embrace is only going to last so long as he does drop. And 496, some questionable plays coming out, and it is costing them quite heavily.
Yeah, it reminds me of that dive by the tier 2 earlier on. They just kind of stream in one by one. It's just over-aggression. They need to bring themselves back to a neutral state mentally. You know, they need to calm down. They're not quite fully ahead, and even if they were, they're kind of throwing that lead off. Execration managed to find a tier 1, they get a couple of big kills. They do manage to reveal the BKB on their Terrorblade in big way as well. That was his 9-second charge down to 8, but he got a couple of kills and he got an objective. It's starting to pan out here for Execration. For 496, again, have to take it slow. They've got the shard up on Drew. The BKB is coming up soon. And once you do have the BKB on Drew, you could definitely do more. They do smoke up. That's one thing. 496, they don't really care. They lose, smoke again, try again.
Oh, Drew, he's going to run right to the backside. They aren't going to jump him, though. Hung, he's right in. Who do they want? They've got the stun out. Nico, he's caught the Bat Rider, but the Cold Embrace once again just going to heal him up through all this damage. Egg does pop, but they still haven't got him in What a Winter's Curse in the backside. They got 3. Drew's in for the call. Does he get it? He'll get the dunks. He'll get the call. He'll get everything. As Nico, he's trying to run, but he cannot get out of this. Bombi, Bombi, Bombi. There's the tips out. You can't give this man the Winter Wyvern.
Oh, you just can't. He's just way too on point. This is him without the blink this time around. In game 1, we saw him have to wait for the blink to get that position. Execration are forced to take these fights in these very tight spots. Just not the ideal spot you want to be in. Fighting against the Winter Wyvern. Sure, you could counter-argue that they've got the egg on the Phoenix, so they enjoy those tight spots as well. But it's much more painful for them to have to deal with a Winter's Curse, and they went out. 496, it's just the nature of this team, right? Like, they lost the fight, whatever, smoke up, try again. They jump forward, they don't get the lasso off, wasn't even used from Hung, but they managed to bait out the egg, they get the curse, and it all lines up. I think Execration has to be ready for that constant aggression. Like, this is just 496 at pretty much their best, pretty much how they were last year. Exactly like this. Constant running in your face, disruptive, very hard to predict. You can see Execration are smoked up right now, but they don't have Dragon Form, don't have Egg. A lot harder to really pull off a big engagement without those spells up here.
They're gonna try. They want Hung on the Bat Rider, it seems, but can they make their way up? Scan gonna be off the mark. Hung already backing out. BDZ is gonna show up.
Scan, that was their scan. 496.
Hung, nice blink away. Very quick reactions there from Hung. Execration. I mean, they're gonna get some stacks for themselves. They get something, John. That's about all they're gonna get out of this.
It's not ideal, and that was just a really smart scan from 496. It was their scan, so it managed to clip them by the Roche Pit, and that just gave enough for Hung to blink out, start to Firefly up that cliff, and bail out. Now they know the Roche is probably going to be happening. 496 can turn around here. They've got Winter's Curse up. They could easily just swing around from that dire jungle.
Seems like it's what it's all about. Can they land a big curse? And in fact, they have started. Stun is out. They've got that BB, but the Cold Embrace again just going to buy so much time. Curse, not there yet. Reflection going to get the vision. Still that BB, not dying, still alive, but does finally drop. And now the egg is going to zone them out, but the buybacks are there. Meanwhile, Drew, he's jumped in by himself, but he's going to be perfectly fine with the BKB as Nico. He keeps frontlining for the team. His team is way far back, and now with that the meta up, Palos will not want to fight. So they do force out a buyback. It's a decent fight for Execration. They would have loved to get the Roshan though, but you take what you can get right now.
It's a bit of an awkward spot for Execration because they blew the egg and blew a lot of other spells. They're going to lack that in the next engagement, along with a Metamorphosis.
Palos. They know he's in there somewhere. Hung. He's got the Firefly up. He's not showing in vision yet. Look at this very sneaky play. Hung. He's going to wrap around the long side. Palos. Not spotted out. He's going to be alright. Hung. Still trying to check it out. BDZ is around on the Mirana just in case he needs it. They've even got the Aghanim Scepter puck up now. So you've got that Dream Coil. A much longer duration. Bombi, he'll go for a quick D ward. It does expire. Nico trying to jump in for a stun, but won't be able to get the vision on Bombi. Arrow, gonna be way off the mark. Everybody gets out scot-free.
Still pretty happy about this if you're 496. Execration do get a bit of a reset. Most of their spells are back up. Just waiting on Metamorphosis and Egg. Those two will line up quite nicely for the next Roche fight. So they could reconsider going back into Roshan. We've got the wards around the pit area. They can kind of take control and get that big objective. And the issue is, as this game drags on, the Axe is kind of out-farming your Terrorblade. Just by nature of Manta Shards build-up being super effective. And that's going to lead to an earlier AC on Drew, more armor to compensate against the physical damage of that TB, more attack speed to pump out those spins. And as you mentioned, Axe spin is pure damage coming out for the counter Helix. So it's always going to be effective against these tanky heroes. Scaling's always going to be good. You do have the Scotty up in TB, but 496, they're smoked up again. There's no wards to spot that, no scan coming out yet. So they could look to find a pick off and go into that Roshan here.
Oh, Nico, he's got the vision. He needs to get out of there ASAP, but he does not get out in time. They got the lasso, they've got the DK, and he's got no help around him. He's going to BKB to try and survive this. Can he actually make his way out? Maybe he can as that BB now. He'll be the one to stand up. They do get the cold embrace off, but now the egg to zone them away and trying to secure the kill onto that BB. Still he survives though as the coil now is down. That's an Aghanim Scepter coil locking down Drew on that Axis Bombi. He tried to break the leash. A nice curse out. They've got Yoe, but it's going to be enough. It looks like Palos. He's got the BKB off, so he's fine as Hustler is going to drop. And now Drew, he needs to back his Execration are looking a lot scarier now. But the buybacks are there. 496, they want to keep going, it seems like. Of course, Execration, they see the buybacks. They back off themselves. They'll go for a reset. And 496, back to the drawing board for them. They've got to be very careful about their initiation now, as things are looking a lot scarier as time goes on.
There's so much power in Execration right now, as long as they get that spell combination off. Have been doing a pretty good job on 496's end to always have that BB take the front line though. Like it's always the Lesh that's focused up earlier on. They have to commit the egg on the Lesh rack, but this time around they managed to find a good angle to get that Dream Coil off in the back line, and that pretty much made all the difference in the world. Along with the BKB on the Terrorblade. Like he managed to pop the BKB before the Winter's Curse, so he wasn't actually stuck hitting that puck, and I think that's the big one. You want to keep that Terrorblade down while the BKB is up. You might just want to fully commit it on that TB, even though there's no one else surrounding him at that moment, just to set up for your follow-up stunts, set up for your calls from Drew, and just kind of allow you to try to drag Palos down before you can really dish the pain out with that Eye of Scotty at the top. Still, this does stall out the potential Roche, because they're lacking Dream Coil and the puck on Execration and the egg, and they're going to lose Metamorphosis soon. And 496 aren't in a shape to really do it just yet, as well, waiting for that Lesh and their own spells. So Roshan's still going to be a bit longer for both sides. Game is still really even, 21-19, 1k lead on Execration side. Every core kind of matched up. Drew and Palos relatively even. Yo and Hong Hong relatively even. That BB and Nico relatively even. So it's again down to the supports getting a bit more farm. And this time around, it's Execration supports with a lot more. Like the Eul's from BDZ has been so disruptive, especially on Drew. He just can't blink around as much. He can't line up for the calls as well. He has to be very patient with his BKB use and when exactly he wants to come in on that axe to get that control off.
Absolutely. A very tough time for Drew for sure in these team fights. As of late, anyway. Execration, slowly but surely, looking like a solid unit as the game goes on. Gonna start moving as a team now. Big smoke up. Where are we headed? Back into the Roshan. They want to see if they can sneak this, perhaps. No, never mind that. Into the triangle. That BB, the closest target. Stun in, they've got him. Nico holds him down. Arrow is going to be there, but the cold embrace once again buying more time. But there's your dream core now. Yoe, he's got the backside, but Drew, he's got the puck. They get the lasso off as well. They want Yoe dead, and they'll be able to dunk down on him. Drew now, do you want to keep going? The egg was committed. They'll leave him be. So it's a 1-for-1. That BB also dying. We have the meta popped again. Do they want to try for that Roshan? They're going to give it a crack. I don't think 496 will be willing to let this go for free. The problem is they are very low on buybacks now. So it could be a pretty hard ask to try and counter this Roshan fight out as Nico, he starts a fight outside the Roshan pit. A nice call is there. The spins are coming out. Hung, he's still alive through all the damage, but he does finally drop it. Now the curse is out. They find RR. They got Nico. Palos, though, does he want to keep going? Not quite, but at least let's have a nice little gem there that he can pick up for the team. That'll be it. It looks like it was a 2-for-2 trade. In fact, it was a 2-for-1. Execration still can't go back for the Roshan.
No, and they had to go for the fight. Metamorphosis fades out, so they have to wait again. And it's just that awkward movement between Execration and 496. I think 496 are doing the right thing though. As long as they don't give that Roche away, they get to have a bit more breathing room in terms of these engagements, and they don't need to panic as much going in there. So kind of favors 496 the fact that this Roche is stalled out a little bit more. He also managed to build up this Assault Cuirass up on our axe. So much more armor flying in, which means Terrorblade damage is not going to feel great. He has to worry about Winter's Curse. He has to worry about the Embrace. And he has to worry about all this armor up on the axe, especially if he gets a call off. Like additional 30 armor going to be rough. And you can see Drew finally going in with illusions, twacking away at Roshan. Look at those spins. And Execration are way too far to contest this one. It's going to be 496's Aegis to take.
Kind of shocked that they backed off so much. I know without the metal, you may not really want to fight, but to give the Aegis away to the side of 496 doesn't seem like the greatest idea, and now the arrow is going to make it quite obvious, but it's way too late. And Drew, with the Spider Legs, just rushing up, trying to find a target. How great is that for Drew, by the way? He actually got Spider Legs on Axe. Such a good item.
Yeah, really nice to see. I would love if this game went late, which maybe it will, but I'd love a Giant Swing Axe. I don't think we've ever had the pleasure of seeing Giant Swing Axe.
True.
I think that would be great, right? Like we've seen Giant Swing DK, we've seen Mars, who just turns into an absolute unit with a BKB on. But I think Axe is just, it's terrifying. You get the call, you're on top of them, the strength goes on top, right? And then maybe you get the call and BKB off of the Giant Swing. He is just gigantic as well. So, you know, I don't know if this is the game to see that, but would be nice too.
Hung, moving forward. Not gonna be able to find a target. They are waiting on the side of Execration. They might jump in, and they do. Nico again. Dragon Tail was there. Arrow to follow up, but that'll be about it. They just forced the rotations from 496, and now Hustler gonna roll forward by himself. He does get stunned up immediately, but it seems like Execration, they don't want to fight yet. There's your call out now. They've got the backside, they've got Bombi. That's the one they want, but Hustler, he's got the Phoenix. They'll take him down as Bombi. He just won't die. This man heals himself up. Palos, he's still trying, but he's been stunned up now. He might be perma-stunned, but no, they get the lasso off. They will take him down. That's your TB gone, and now the side of Execration, all they can do is run. But there is nowhere to run. It took them so long to try and kill Bombi that everybody else around them just died.
There was a really beautiful play coming out from Hustler as well. Mid-dive, he managed to roll onto the Phoenix. So the Phoenix was trying to reposition for the egg, going in at the angle, and Hustler just cuts him off. They did not have the egg in the fight, and that just ruined any chances Execration had. They have to get that combo off. Now their high ground's under siege, and it's going to be tough. Even if they buy back into Terrorblade, there's no Metamorphosis for a minute 40, and that's just so much damage missing from Execration.
That it is, John. Definitely a very tough position now for Execration. Yet if they lose this game, they are out of the TI10 qualifiers, and that's not where you want to be if you're Execration, but that is where they are. They're going to try, coil out. They've caught two, the Batrider and the Lesh. Nico, he's going to jump in, but the BKB was already there by Hung. Meanwhile, Drew, that Sunray, doing so much damage, but he's still got the Aegis, so instead they'll go after that BB. They'll try for the Lesh rack, and they will be able to get something. As everybody else is just looking to TP out and leave, and they will. They still lose the mid-racks, but they ensure that they can't go any further, and they get themselves a nice kill.
It's a bit of a consolation prize for Execration to get as much as they can in that situation, and they kind of hold on to this game. There's a big spike coming out for Palos, though. We've seen Terrorblades hit a huge stride with this item. Daedalus up now on our TV, and that really skyrockets the damage. Kind of makes that AC plus call on Drew. That doesn't feel like much anymore as long as you get a good crit. So, looking good in terms of still keeping up that scaling. You look at that scoreboard, you look at the net worth, Mike, it's still within 1k of each other, 27 to 23. A very close second game so far, but having that lane advantage for 496 opens up more possibilities for them. So, I think they're still in control of this game, but they can't afford to play sloppy. Like, there's a couple of fights where they overextend themselves a couple of times. They can't afford to do that again, because that will make the game swing towards Execration if they do.
Fair call, John. Swift Blink coming out now on our axe. He hasn't bought it out yet, but Drew probably save for that buyback gold, get the Swift Blink up, and with that added attack speed, it'll be very valuable to proc even more spins. But like you said, Palos with that Daedalus up now, he's going to be hitting like a real truck. The problem is though, I don't feel like Palos has ever lacked damage. That's the thing, he's always had damage. But this Winter Wyvern, with the Cold Embrace, with the Winter's Curse, just makes it impossible for him to be able to stand there and fight.
Yeah, it's just too tough. Like, every single time they try to isolate out Bombi as well, but it just stalls out the fight so much more, and 496 splits it up themselves. They are smoked up, they are still holding the Aegis, but it's only about 25 seconds left in the Aegis, so probably not the ideal time to force this movement out, and they could get caught off guard here, 496.
Yeah, Execration, they've Moonlight Shadowed up. They want to try for a big team fight. Wrapping around the mid lane.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Love the fact that Drew even found a leveler now, John, so even more attack speed for the axe if he does want it. And he does take it. Beautiful.
Radiant are
Beautiful.
scanning.
Yeah, spin to win, baby. Gotta
That's
get
right.
those right clicks off.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, Swift Blink coming up next, right? Fantastic for an axe going right clicks. This is going to be great once it's up.
You know
I
what
believe
would make
he has
this...
the gold.
You know what this would make this hero more balanced, John? If the spin affected towers.
Dire's bottom
That's what I reckon. Just,
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? That's absolutely busted.
I'm an axe
What do
player,
you
John.
mean? Look
You could have
at
pretended.
the Leshrac. Imagine if the axe could do that to buildings. Jeez.
Why not?
That is sick. Why don't you go axe? Here's the next level build for you, Mike. Axe Meteor Hammer. Call Meteor Hammer.
Hey, believe it or not, that happens a lot in my Australia server games, alright? You don't...
Seriously?
Yeah, unfortunately it has happened. So, as they go high ground, tier 3 tower. Yo, it. Dream Coil, again, onto that BB. They love starting with this Leshrac, but there's your Cold Embrace out. Making it impossible. They even drop the egg. Alright, it's a very early egg committal here from RR. And Hung, he wants to go back in. He loves it. Yo, it. Aeon Disc procced. A great boulder smash now by Hustler.
Ooh, boy. It's pretty painful. That's a really long cooldown on that
Radiant's top tower is
bailout,
under
and
attack.
that just opens up possibilities here for 496. If they wanted to, they can start considering the high ground. Looks like they will at least travel out Hung first. You can just come back in with a quick Moon Charm and Boots of Travel. Cooldown on TP's not too long, and they are keeping every wave, every lane shoved in except top. Execration, not the right time to head out of that base, I don't reckon. Even though Triangle, it's not that safe, so you're gonna have to be conservative here. And they do have a bit of an opening because the Aegis is gone. If they kill Drew, that could be one way to swing this game just a bit more. And he even loses his courier. That was a Swift Blinked on. That's pretty painful.
It is, John. Just like spinning axe on towers would be, if that worked. So, hopefully Ice Frog's listening. He always likes to listen to my recommendations, I'm sure. Still haven't gotten that Earth Spirit Arcana, by the way, John. Very upset about that.
Yeah. I'm glad. Oh. It's would be too popular in my pubs, and mind you, in my pubs I don't trust my Earth Spirit players, so there's that. What it is, Mike.
But you only play pubs with me, John. What do you mean you don't trust your Earth Spirit player?
I mean what I say, Mike.
Fair enough.
I mean what I say. I recall a time when we played together, and this was in the peak of Gyrocopter, and you actually I remember you like, how do you even last hit with this? I was like, oh, I don't know. You picked the Gyro, not me. I'm just your support. I just go around, I die for you in lane, like, it's your job to last hit, that's it. That's why you play Earth Spirit.
Don't tell the viewers these stories, John. You know, I'm not a position 1 player, right?
Fair enough.
I don't
fair
know
enough.
how to last hit. I care about having fun in the game. You know, these position 1s, all they want to do is hit creeps like it's an RPG. I can't do that. Execration, they've smoked up now. They want to have a bit of fun too, apparently. But where are we headed? Moonlight Shadows popped. Roshan's up in 15 seconds or so. It's great timing for whoever wins this team fight.
This is pretty tight. If they lose this next fight, Execration, they're going to lose their shot at the next Roshan. That's Roshan number 2. Aegis, Cheese, Shard as a freebie. Opens up many possibilities for either side. Smoke doesn't really lead to much, and the Moonlight does just fade away, so 496 are a bit more safe. Tier 4 items are starting to drop, though. or at least starting to finish the drop. Mentor Horn coming out for Palos could be nice. Holding on to the Flicker right now. We have seen some Flicker plays across many series, and we'll see if Palos can maximize that, but they really don't have much map space to play with. Look at where Execration's stuck. They're just kind of stuck in this general area, maybe a bit of a dip in the triangle, and that's it. Whereas 496 have free reign over top jungle, over their triangle, got control of Roshan, they keep the ward game up. It's really dark right now for Execration's side of the map, and they can't do much without information. That's just the way Dota plays towards this late game. You do need vision, you do need wards up, you do need anything you can get to know where these enemy heroes are, and without it, they're just kind of sitting on their hands here.
Absolutely. So we're just trying to get that farm up. Roshan's up though. Execration, you don't want to move too far away from that Roshan pit at the moment. Aghanim Scepter now on Palos, going to be very effective. Having that second Metamorphosis plus the Fear, always very, very nice. Especially when you consider the Aghanim Scepter Dream Coil, just kind of fearing everyone out of it. Be a very big play by Palos and Yoe if they manage to get it off. And this time, you don't have to be so worried about the Roshan and popping meta too early now, because at least you have a secondary Roshan. In fact, Curse is out. Ooh. Bombi, he's found some pretty nice targets, but they want the Phoenix to start. There's your Magnetize and the Silence out. Can they burst him down, Hustler? Yeah, they've got him. They commit the lasso. They make sure he just dies. But now Hustler, he's out of there. They do not get the kill as they get another. Nick goes down. Drew's on Palos. He'll get the Sunder off, but is it going to be enough? Yeah, it will be Drew. He dies to the Sunray damage. Bombi, he'll die in a cliff, and they'll keep the chase up as Yoe. He's on that BB and Hung. But he needs some help. And they're coming. Hustler, he'll roll back the other way. We're trying to chase him down as now RR giving the vision along with Nico. Rolling forward again, but this time he will die. Into the Roshan pit we go. Execration, plenty of time to try and get this done. 496, will they let it go for free?
They can't afford to. Metamorphosis does fade on Palos, but as you mentioned, he has the Terror Wave to play with for a 10-second meta. There is a bit of an open here. Winter's Curse is going to be up in 14. Not the safest Roche for Execration despite winning that fight. They're going to have to watch themselves if they overextend here.
Hung, he doesn't have the lasso either, and I feel like that was the one big mistake in that last team fight for 496 is they committed the lasso on the Phoenix even though he was silenced. In fact, now Coil's out. He can't really afford to die back, but there's your Fear out now. Palos just fearing away Drew. He needs to get in somehow. Hung just about to die and does. They've got the Bat Rider down, but he will buy back onto that BB. Nico, he'll drop on the DK. That'll be a tie back. That BB somehow, he still stays alive as they go back in after Palos. And Lasso is back up now, so Hung, he's got the main target, he's got the main character, but he's going to make a run. There was no follow-up to the Lasso. And Roshan remains alive for another day.
Just hanging in there. Palos is still playing around that. 30 seconds for Metamorphosis. He needs to be patient here.
Bombi, he's got the curse up. Careful, BDZ's having a look to see if he can set up here on Bombi. We've seen it over and over again. That's the one target they need to start with if they wish to really secure these team fights. Yoe, he's even got a refresher orb coming out now on that park, so double Aghanim Scepter Dream Coil going to be very effective. Hung. It's going to keep them away from the Roshan. Drew, he's going to get started with the Swift Blink. He's attacking like a very, very fast axe. And look at the damage output when he gets those spin procs, but they get the coil off. A great coil, in fact. Now the egg right outside. Sunray's there as well. The Cold Embrace will keep him safe for now, but for how long? Another coil. There's your curse out, but it won't matter. Drew, though, he's somehow still alive. He's going to blink out of there. He will survive another day. The Roshan still alive as well as they dunk on Yoe. He somehow goes down. How is Drew alive?
Oh boy.
There was no detection. Palos, sir, be careful. Roll in. Hustler gets the silence, gets the boulder smash. Cold Embrace going to keep him alive. There's your Sunder now. Palos still alive, Still trying to fight, but that BB, he'll rush forward. Uh-oh, Palos, he's in a bit of trouble here. Lotus Orb not going to help him enough. He will drop, but he can commit the buyback if he so wishes, as Nicholas Knife is there. But Drew in the backside, he's got Nico on that DK. The real main character might just drop, but with the Minotaur Horn, he's going to try and run. There's your BKB out now. He will continue the run, but Hung, he's got the vision. Flame Break, not going to do enough as the blink was there in time, but Roshan is available for 496 to take.
Oh man, it's just so close every single time. All these fights are one on a razor's edge. This time around, 496 managed to turn it about. Roshan's gonna go their way. Aegis Cheese, Ag Shard coming out here. Wonder who they give the shard to. It is on that BB, so he's got that obnoxious split earth. And you see how the positioning of these fights are? They tend to stay in pretty much the same enclosed area for a long time because of the curse, because of the egg. This multiple split earth is going to be a problem for Execration. They're going to have to think about their BKB use once more. And having a safety net now on Drew is going to be really big. Look at what he's saving up for. Just going for the Moon Shard, going for more right-click speed. He already has a attack speed of 0.43 seconds, so he can probably drop down to maybe 0.4 flat after the 2 hyperstones are done. And that's just peak axe. That's when you just can't stop this anymore. And Execration have to be cautious. They still are down 1 racks. They won a couple of fights, but they never got Roche. They never got a tower. They never got the high ground. So none of those fights really mattered. They couldn't translate that into an objective on the map.
Bombi.
And that's really where you fall short.
Very cheeky ward there by Bombi, trying to prepare for the high ground, but BDZ, he does have a gem, so he scouts it out. 496, they continue to just control the map. There's a smoke out though. Execration, they want to go for a fight. Moonlight Shadow going to be popped. They are a bit split. They get the coil off. Hung going to try and break it. Aeon Disc going to save his life. He'll make a run now. There's Yameta out with the fear, but it's not going to be enough as Yoe refreshes. He needs another coil out on somebody. They've committed so much already, but Drew's going to turn around. He wants to go for the fight. Arrow is not going to land. Bombi survives Drew. He's trying to tank through the damage, but he does have the Aegis anyway. He'll have to use his secondary life as Bombi. He will finally go down, but they found BDZ on that Mirana. They'll drop onto Drew again. They want that axe so darn bad, and this time around they'll get him. They finally take him out as that BB. He doesn't have buyback. That BB's gonna make it. Still Drew.
Oh boy.
2 minutes, 10 seconds without buyback. It's gonna be a very big opening for Execration.
They can definitely ice some towers here. Tier 2s at the very least. Maybe start thinking about the high ground. Take out 1 set of racks. This is a huge opening for Execration. And 496, not the best spot to force that fight. You can see some creep cutting over from Hung, trying to slow this down. It does force a response, so it might slow the pace at that tier 2 push. No backdoor break just yet. And they are trying to heal the creep wave up. Look at RR. Just keeping it on the creeps with the Sunray. Eventually fall, but as long as they kind of play this creep cutting game, for the most part, it might stall out long enough, but it's going to be a 3v5 defense regardless here.
It's going to be tough. But you do have this split earth that makes it very hard to go high ground safely. And even the double flame break available on Hung is just so annoying to play into. Let's just look at this, John. Look at this balance. Don't you just love it? Area denial at its finest, sir.
Yeah, they can't go in. And with that stops the push, and you're stuck in the weird situation for Execration. Again, they won the last fight, they take a tier 2, they can't go high ground, there's no Roshan. So what do they really gain from that fight besides gold? Not much. They maybe get a couple of diebacks, but that just gives more time for the buybacks to go off cooldown anyway.
BDZ! It's been caught out by the lasso. Roll is going to connect just in the nick of time, and they got the secondary stun. He's going to use up, but can he get himself out? Not quite. That's a dieback. BDZ gone for 2 minutes. We'll see if they can make anything out of this 496.
They need to. Like, this is a time-based dieback, and he just bought back in the last 3 minutes. So they can kind of play this 4v5. They need to be aggressive. Yeah, run around the map. There's no Roshan to play for. You don't want to wait for the Roshan in this case. You want to play with this buyback advantage. Because Execration couldn't get the high ground, even if they found those diebacks on the Axe, it's off cooldown soon. So he's going to be ready to just throw his body forward anyway without worrying about not being there for the next fight. And that just puts a massive disadvantage to Execration. I think 496 should realize that, should start lining up. They're starting to clump together with a smoke coming through. And there it is. Go hunting now. If they find one more kill, that could be Megas.
Yoe needs to be so careful at the moment. He'll back off. He does have buyback at the very least. You can't really afford to lose your TB right now, and they do spot out Hung with the Firefly. They know where he is. So they're going to try and force his high ground, it looks like, Drew. Now, he'll leave the illusions behind. They'll back off. Maybe it's just smarter for either side to wait for the next Roshan. And John, just so you know, sir, you did wish for tier 5 items. We're 8 minutes away. 8 minutes away to having those up. Give me some predictions while we have a bit of downtime. You said you wanted the Axe Giant's ring, which I obviously want as well. What else do you want? Tell us about it. For either team, obviously.
I think for either side, they're going to really enjoy... I mean, Apex is kind of overrated in my view. I honestly feel like Ex Machina is going to change that game. Just having a refresh BKB on, say, Palos, that could be really big. Just BKB, 25 seconds later, another BKB. He can just stand in these fights. As long as he survives through Lasso and Winter's Curse, so there are those two big spells that pierce through it. But I think just allowing this Blade to stand up forward is going to be really big. I mean, he's going for the refresh as well here on Palos. What else is great? Would be a bit of a meme if we got Book of the Dead, I guess. I don't know if that's going to be good for any side. Pirate Hat as well for our axe. If it's not Giant's Ring, Pirate Hat would be good. 150 attack speed. I mean, at some point, attack speed stops. There's like a cap on the gain of actually changing it. It boils down to your, I believe, your actual animation. Your BAT, I think, kind of limits that in terms of scaling it. There were some mats with Alchemist before as well, but that could be really nice on the axe. Just to, kind of give you more counter helixes with each shard. We'll see if that does come true. But that's still like 7 minutes off. We don't want to jinx it. We'll have to see if it does drag that late. Execration, they are smoked up around here. And they've got some pretty spicy items coming out as well. BDZ saving up for his... what do you call that?
Oh, nice Glimmer Cape. It's not going to save him, though. They get the stun off into the arrow setup. Dreamcoil committed. They're trying to get that TB over there to get the damage output out. BKB is going to be committed. Call is not going to connect on anyone. Drew, though, still alive as Bombi. He's the one to drop. He does make a distraction play for Drew, but Drew, he's not getting out. He might just drop as well. He has buyback. Hustler, BKB, TP, he'll be alright. A great team fight from Execration. We'll see if they can capitalize off this.
They don't have a Roche to fight for. They could try high ground on mid, but mid is a very hard lane to shove in. They could go for the tier 2s up top and bot, but at this point, it's not the biggest objectives. And you can see Hung, look at him shoving in this bot wave, massive wave to come in. Dreamcoil.
Coil is there, but the Aeon Disc proc gonna be out and does save the day. They force the rotations in from Yoe and Nico, and in fact, they've even got BDZ around, so no high ground attempt coming here from Execration. They do at the very least hold the net worth lead, and they have some time to farm up some more items if they so wish. These push in these waves and kind of give themselves a bit more map control. But the high ground is still yet to be breached for Execration.
And that's the biggest hurting point for Execration. Like, they win a fight, yeah, great. They just don't have objectives. Like, Roshan's still a minute away from respawning. That's enough time for the Axe to be back up in that next fight as well. It just doesn't quite pan out the way you'd want. Now, they do have a trump card here on Palos. He's got the refresh orb up, so he can metamorphosis. If he dies, he buys back, comes in, refresh, metamorphosis again. That could catch 496 off guard if they don't plan around it, but they should be able to see that item up in that last engagement, so they should be aware of the conditions Execration has on hand, and we'll see if they can adapt to that, as we are inching closer towards 60 minutes. Like, after that last fight, I think this might actually go towards 60, but you don't just want to hit 60, right? You want to hit 65, 70 to give everyone time to farm up.
John,
so
I forgot.
We're going to have to see if we hit that mark, yeah?
How could we forget, John? How rude of us. It is DK Persona as well, so we have a Giants Ring candidate for the other team. Right? He's
Yeah.
getting the Aghanim
Yeah.
Scepter, so the big black dragon. It's bigger, by the way, just so you guys know with the persona. In case you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, with the Giant's Ring, it's even bigger than it used to be. It's actually kind of insane how big it is. Like, the wingspan is huge. And, I mean, it's a pretty entertaining sight to watch how big this dragon is. It kind of just covers the whole team fight. But I do love it, and I suppose Giant's Ring on the DK would be even nicer, in a way.
Yeah, I'd love to see it on both sides if it does come out. But we'll just have to be patient. You know, we have to hit 60, give them time to farm up the camps. Maybe by 65, all of those tier 5 items will be done. It's a reward for the patient, Mike. And we'll see if both teams are patient enough to wait out. I reckon they're gonna fight around this next Roche. And speaking of that DK, got the heart up. Look at all the HP up on our DK. Nico, he's got 5.2k HP, very balanced, very nice number to have. Just absolutely tanky.
He's gonna have like
But
6k
he's still
if he
been
gets
dying.
a Giant's Ring.
Oh yeah,
Good.
beautiful. Oh,
Top lane? Hung, he's gonna be alright. Dreamcoil was committed. Bombi, he's still fine as well. In fact, he's jumping in. He found Palos. Hung, no lasso. He's not gonna be able to get it off. And Palos, he's on the run. Towards the south, however, they got Hustler, but he's going to commit the buyback, and here comes the team fight. They'll get it started as Drew on the backside has got the TB. There's your lasso out. Can they get the damage out in time, though? Palos, he's still alive. They get the bashes out. It's not going to be enough, though. Palos, he will heal up all the way as he gets hung down. Drew's still trying, but they still have the Sunder. They still have the Fear. They still have everything. As Hustler, he just fought back, but he's going right back to the grave. 3 down for the side of 496 and Execration. Look at the gift that's been left for them in that Roshan pit, John. Another Aghanim Scepter. Who do you give it over to?
Oh, I'd say in this case just go RR, if not Nico. Like the egg save sounds like it could be big, and again, you don't have the best egg hitters on 496. The Black Dragon for free, be pretty damn spicy as well. It looks like they are planning on Nico. They hand it off. Blessings there. Next dragon form is going to be the giant one. Big old black dragon coming through. Big win for Execration. No buyback on Hustler. 2 heroes with buyback in 496, but they kind of missed that execution. They fought around the egg. They couldn't kill off the Terrorblade before the egg popped, and it just fell apart from there. They need to try to focus their damage out. They need Hustler in a lot earlier. And this just opens up the push potential. But again, look at that BD just spamming out the splitter. It makes it a lot harder to pierce that high ground.
They do go bot lane instead. They understand. They don't want to go down the tougher route. Their top lane is being shoved in, however, don't forget. But Dreamcoil was committed. That BB, he's been caught with the Aeon Disc. It's gonna save him. Execration, they'll at least get 1 lane of racks. The question is, will they be able to get a second? They're gonna try. Palos, he's in. He's got the fear up, but that BB does get the BKB in time, and now the buyback has been forced out by Hung. They still get the tier 3 tower, and they're going to start chipping away at this mid-rats. In fact, go top now. Nico, he'll get started. I mean, free pathing for the DK with this Aghanim Scepter.
Radiant's top
He
tower
can kind of just keep going down back to the low ground if he needs to, but oh, there's the lasso. They've got the big one. He's got 5.3k HP though. Can you actually kill him with all these spins? Maybe you can, but there's the Icarus dive out. They're trying to help out. The DK's still trapped up. They've got the mid-racks at the very least, so Nico, he's buying a lot of time for his team to freely take the racks, but Sunder is there. Palos with the Satanic is going to be able to heal himself up. Back to the top racks they go. They want the Megas up. They want to force this to a game number 3, but can they get it done? 496. They don't want to make it that easy. Yower in the backside. There's your Split Earth down. That BB going real darn forward, but he has been caught and braced up. More Split Earths flying out. Hustler's in on the backside. He's got RR, but the Yule Scepter, or rather the Wind Waker, gonna save the day, and now the Exile to protect that BB. He'll have to cheese. He was dropping very darn low. The Cold Embrace even. There is now another lasso. Is out onto Davion himself. Back into the tier 4 towers. This time around, can they burst him? They can. Palos, he sundered an illusion. What did he just sunder? He sundered somebody. He missed out. The fear is there. That BB, he's going to be fine. The BKB was there in time, but they're still after the racks, but the backdoor protection does kick in. Hung, Aeon Disc again. Going to save his life as Drew. He's in. He wants the man fight Palos, but he cannot do it. He needs to run us now. The curse is out. They've got Davion again. He just fought back. He might be dead here, or maybe not. He's still alive, but Drew, he's got the call out. It's not going to be enough for Davion. He's down into the split earth. It does buy more time for Drew to get out of there safely and get a reset. As Yoet, BDZ and Palos, they still want to get these megas. 496 though, they are holding the high ground. They will not allow them to get those mega creeps up. My oh my, John, what a game we have. 29k net worth lead now for Execration. And the tier 5 items are up. Seer Stone is there. Book of the Shadows is up. So not the best items, but they are pretty decent. Do they want to wait to get all of them?
Oh, Drew playing a bit risky, but I think they should. Like, they've got the map advantage. They've got 20k lead from Execration just bouncing around like that. If you look at the net worth graph, Mike, super even right until a couple of those last fights in the past 10 minutes. Just crashing down towards Execration and oh.
Is there on Drew, but there's no follow-up. In fact, Dreamclaw now is out on Hung. They want to just hold him back as Yoet is being chased up. The Batrider really wants this lasso, but they'll have to change targets. Onto BDZ. He commits the Wind Waker to try and get himself out. Flame Break is not going to land either. The second one will, though. They've got BDZ. They'll get the Mirana down. But he does have buyback. 496, they're trying to rush these tier 5 items. They're trying to find them as they go high ground. They can't do both, but they want the advantage. Another Seer Stone. So you get a bit of vision there. But again, it's not the greatest item. Never mind that though, John. They're looking at those tier 4 towers. Yoet jumps in. And they catch him. The Cold Embrace on the Siege Creep. They want to keep it alive, but the buybacks are there from BDZ. It's 496. They'll have to back off for those tier 5 items, surely. Unless Bombi, he might find a big curse, but no, Yoet, he spots him out. He wants that Wyvern dead. It's a great start. Fear is there with the coil. Bombi with the Glimmer Cape. He does kill himself off with that Fear, though, and Hung's down as well. No buyback available for the Batrider. And 496, they needed a bit of patience. They didn't have it. And now it's a 4v5 scenario. Can they defend, John? It's a hard ask.
It's super scary for 496. Execration, they've got all the tools in the world to get that high ground done now. They've got the tier 4 item advantage. You get the Ballista, which they could hand off to the Terrorblade if you want to. No Giant's Ring, unfortunately, for Execration. No such luck there. But the side of 496 can't even go out to clear some jungle camps. So they have absolutely no tier 4s beyond the Seer Stone. And now, high ground gets started.
Yeah, Drew's in. He's got the call off, but I'm not sure this is going to be good enough. They're trying to burst down this TB. Maybe they can do it, but no, the Wind Waker. BDC again buys more time, but no, they get another stun off. Can they burst him down? Palos, he'll turn around now with the lifesteal. He is surviving, and Drew, he's the one dropping, but the Cold Embrace going to save the day as Hustler will be the one to drop. Drew's still trying with the call out. He'll turn onto the DK, but it's not going to be enough. He will drop, but buy back. Into the tier 4 towers now. That BB dropping so darn low so quickly, but Drew does get in again onto the puck, but it's not going to be enough. He's surrounded again. He's trying his best, but he is all by himself. This game is over. Execration at the 63-minute mark do manage to pull it back their way. And what a game 2 we just witnessed.
Oh, it was so close between both sides. 496, it looked like they were playing really well early on. They were hitting some big spikes, they were getting some big fights, but they overextend. They jump behind a tier 2, not respecting the Dream Coil Egg. They kind of go running in one by one at some point, and they drop their lead. And it was at that point Execration turned around. They were finding openings, they were landing their own fights. They got some confidence back from those kinds of engagements, and they just turned it around. Towards the late game, the Terrorblade's just way too difficult to handle. A lot of things had to go right for 496 to be able to make that Axe core work, and it just wasn't lining up. The conditions to pull off those team fights were a lot harder to do compared to Execration. They just had all the saves. It was easier to land Dream Coil Egg compared to Big Winter's Curse and Lasso out. Just so much harder to get that done once the Fear was coming through, once all of those AoE spells were coming out, and it was just a bit rough. Really well played from Execration for holding on that long, a lot of other teams might have faltered when they see themselves kind of trading but not finding objectives. It kind of just stresses you out. You don't achieve anything after winning fights, but Execration had the patience to turn it about, and that playstyle we talked about in Execration, focusing on Palus's farm, it did pay off here. Your Terrorblade was just absolutely gigantic. 7 slots on. Look at his finished items. Literally 6 slots plus the refresh and the BKB in the backpack. That's pretty much 8 slots on this guy, and
Not to mention
just
the Aghanim Blessing.
outstanding. Oh yeah, and the Ag's Blessing, just way too much coming through. And 496, they need to tone it back a bit, Mike. Just too
One
much
mistake.
aggression. Diving in, they just dove in one by one at some point, and they just threw that lead away.
It's an amazing game, though, John. It does mean we get to go to a game number 3 between 496 and Execration. And you know what, John? This is how SEA Dota's meant to be, right? Just the all-out brawl fest, the comebacks over and over again. This is what we personally love to see. And, well, if you've been sitting here viewing it with us, we hope you're having a fantastic time over on BTS number 3, aka the B stream today, sir. But it is MLP Dota. It's johnxfire. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be back in roughly 10 minutes to see how game number 3 does pan out. We'll see you then.